Welcome into King Whale's album review party. Today we have, as you can tell, I'm already laughing because I see Ty's name for the album that we're reviewing. Um, but today we're reviewing Hiatus Coyote's latest album, Love Heart Cheat Code. So before we delve into it, how's it going, Ty? Can you explain your
It's
name for everybody?
so I just think like a hiatus coyote. I think of a coyote that is taking a break, and I thought of a synonym in a fox being on strike. I picture a fox in like a little construction hat and maybe like one of those like neon yellow vests with like a picket sign out in
Mm-hmm.
front of his like construction job.
Yep. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. So Hiatus Coyote, they're a group that I hadn't really followed as much. I feel like we kind of introduced each other to them because I remember there's one
Yep.
song by Anderson Paak that I really love featuring Rhapsody, and I can't think of the name of it
Mhm.
right now. Um, but it features a Hiatus Coyote song. And that's how I ended up finding that song, Molasses by Hiatus Coyote. And I absolutely love that song. I think that's still my favorite Hiatus Coyote song, even after listening to this entire album. And I feel bad because I don't want to be one of those fans that's like, I only like the song that was used in a sample by a much more popular artist, but it is a fantastic song. So I feel like I can say that without being like a fake fan. Like
Mhm.
it was a
Right.
fantastic song.
It's a
Um,
good song in and of the otherwise good album too.
oh yeah, yeah, fantastic
Yeah,
album as
choose
well.
your
Check
weapon.
that one out. Yeah, Choose Your
But like
Weapon is what
that's
it's called.
also that's a good way to discover new music. I've
Mhm.
discovered a lot of music through like what's that sample? And then I
Yeah,
discover an artist and I'm started listening to their stuff.
and I didn't even think I realized I didn't hear that it was a sample at first. I was just looking
Mhm.
through the credits on Malibu, which is the album that the sample was used on from Anderson Paak, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's where this is from. And it's really cool because it's kind of like Hiatus Coyote is one of those groups they have a strong fan base, but they're not as mainstream. Like they're not going to pop up on your TV. You're not going to see them like thrown in your face or anything like that. They're not going to be one
Mhm.
of the top 500 artists in the world, but it really shows you that those artists who are in the top 500 in the world who are super popular like Anderson Paak, they listen to people like Hiatus Coyote to get these samples. Like they listen to other underground, more um I don't want to say niche, but like more underground groups and stuff like that, people that aren't as mainstream. And so,
Sure.
it kind of helps you remember how like again, for a lot of hip hop that sampled jazz way back in the day, they would in order to sample jazz, you have to listen to it. So,
Mhm.
they listen to a lot of jazz. They listen to a lot of these records, like Kanye West listened to a lot of music. Um, a lot of music that's not as popular in order to get the right samples and understand exactly what he's creating. So it's kind of cool because it kind of reminds you that hey, artists listen to music too. They don't just
Mhm.
and they don't just listen to the popular stuff as well.
Mhm.
But anyway, back to this album. So I guess how did you discover Hiatus Coyote?
Totally through you. You had sent me Molasses,
Hmm.
and because you thought it was a really great song, I listened to it. I thought it was a really great song. I went to listen to that album as a whole. Really enjoyed Choose Your Weapon, and then fell off the fell off the band for a little bit until because they had a big break between albums because that was in 2015
2021. Hmm.
and then 2021 when Mood Valiant, if I'm remembering right,
Hmm.
came out. And that one I don't remember enjoying it quite as much as Choose Your Weapon. And so then I kind of like just went back and re-listened to Choose Your Weapon again. And Talk Tomahawk, which was beforehand, and I really enjoyed those. But now coming back to Love Heart Cheat Code, I feel like this is a band that just whenever they release something new, I will be there to listen to it, but it feels like I sleep on them in between. I don't
Hmm.
think about them quite as much, but this album, it impressed me. I really, really liked it.
Okay.
I think it'll stay in my consciousness a little bit longer than normal.
So what did you like about this album? I was just looking at some of the prominent samples, like Anderson Paak sample. That song was called Without You, that he sampled Molasses.
Okay, that he sampled.
Yeah, and that song is like their most played song, Molasses. So I don't
Mm,
know if Without You kind of helped make it more popular because it
mhm,
was doing like in the millions and some people discovered it, or if it got popular and that's how
mm.
Anderson Paak found it. So don't really know,
Chicken or
but
the egg.
yeah, maybe it was a combination of both. Kendrick Lamar sampled some of their records. Drake has sampled them. Beyonce and Jay-Z has sampled them. Oh my god, the little thumb thing came up again.
Yeah.
Um, Beyonce, JD, and Teyana Taylor has sampled them. So like again, very
Oh,
big
okay.
prominent artists that have all tuned in to what they've been doing. But yeah, so what were your high points of this album?
So for me, I think number one, I like how condensed it is. This album feels very short. I prefer the the trend of albums to be more like concise. Like don't just add fluff or filler. Um, I think as I get older, there's more artists that I want to listen to and less that I have the time to listen. And
Yes.
so when artists like a few years ago, the Smashing Pumpkins released like a triple LP, like a giant rock opera, and it took me like a month to consolidate the time to listen to because it was like 2 and something hours long.
Oh my
And I
god.
was like, I'm having trouble just like condense it, too massive. And
Hmm.
this album sits in at like a clean 36 minutes. Like it's short, it's sweet to the point. It's even got like I wouldn't go so far as to say like a joke track, but with Long Cat, it has like a very like a half, like a point 0.5, you know. But it's very concise. It feels like they
Hmm.
get out what they want to put out, and that's it. And what they put out for the most part, I think is like really stellar stuff. Personally, I think Cinnamon Temple might be my favorite song this year. Like of any
Really?
song that I can't stop listening to Cinnamon. It came out of left field for like the vibe of the album itself. Like
Hmm.
it didn't feel like it was as soulful as the rest of the album felt. And so like that was like a little bit of a sucker punch. And then too how chaotic and big and nonstop it felt up until like the very end, and then it's over. And it felt like what did I just experience? What did I just listen to? And I kept going back to re-listen to the album as a whole, but that song specifically, I kept going back to it. And I'm enamored. I love it so much.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
How
that's
about you? What are some of your high points here?
so I think my standout is Everything's Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, for this album, I think because Molasses was my introduction to them, like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was kind of looking for that Molasses sounding track. You know what I mean? That was kind
Mm-hmm.
of because Molasses is very straightforward on chord progression, but it's very
Yeah.
tight rhythmically. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I was looking for. But you kind of got to know that Molasses is just a aspect of what they do. It's not the only thing that they do. You
Yeah.
know, they mix it around a lot. And I think like this is the kind of group that I wish in high school and in because they were around when I was in high school, you know. There's
Mm-hmm.
when Malibu came out in 2016, I was a senior.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I was studying jazz, like this is the kind of music that my band director or you know someone any jazz like someone who's trying to get students interested in jazz like these are the kind of groups that you should show your students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Show them what you can do, you know, because like and again you always have to study the greats, you always have to listen to the older jazz, the classics, the moderns. You know, I still play those on gigs whenever I'm going. Like, I'm not just going to not play the classic Miles Davis because they came out a long time ago. But you also need to show them how you can push the envelope and what you can become if you continue studying this. Because a lot of
Right.
times they you know they just they kind of got lost in a world of like, no, jazz is jazz, and you can only do jazz, and you can never mix anything else with jazz, and you can only like jazz is it. That's it. It's the only thing you can do. And for students that came up that have a lot of different musical interests, that's like, okay, this feels very confining, and that's not really like the only kind of music that I want to do. And so
Hmm.
again, hearing groups like this that mix it with neo soul, with funk, and I would say like they have a much more jazz influence than any other neo soul group that I've seen. Like
Hmm.
I'm convinced every single one of these artists can play jazz, because there's a lot of
Hmm.
neo soul bassists or pianists or guitarists that can't
Hmm.
do jazz. They can do neo soul great, and that's they can do R&B and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but jazz is a completely different animal, and they can't do
Yeah.
it. Uh, but these guys, they can. Like they have the
Hmm.
chops for it, they have the range, they have the technicality that you need, the chord structure and everything. So like I would love to take this album and like go through and like what are the chord changes, and like
Hmm.
I might even consider like trying to play some of these songs on sets and stuff, because they're so um cool and trailblazing. I feel like they are doing, I feel like they're doing a lot for jazz right now, and I feel like it's probably not being recognized as much in the jazz world, because they're still they're probably more like on the edge, but
Hmm.
I feel like they are doing a lot, and that's why. And so Everything's Beautiful is kind of my standout track, just because like it sounds like Molasses. But if I get a
Yeah.
chance, I'm probably going to listen to their 2021 album, and then go back and
Hmm.
listen to this one and see if there's anything else that like really stands out to me. Once I get a better idea
Right.
of what their entire style is.
Yeah, it no, I totally have the same like takeaway. I want to go back and re-listen to like Mood Valley of like, did I miss something? Like, what was I just not in the right mindset when I first listened to it, like to
Hmm.
appreciate it? Like, what's not clicking for me here right now? Because yeah, I think too, to the like the jazz component, this feels like a group of friends riffing,
Oh
like
yeah,
like especially with songs like Telescope, like looking into like what they the like the origin of that song is that I guess there's a website that you can go to look up what things were on your birthday, what things were viewed with the telescope, and that song is just a collection of all the bandmates and their birthdays and what stuff the Hubble telescope had discovered that day. And it's such a like a quirky and like odd like idea, but like it feels like at the same time like sentimental and like it means
yeah,
something to them, and like the vibe and energy they put with like riffing, it almost feels like on a track like that just feels very uniquely them, and a quality that you don't always get with finalized and produced music. Like I
yeah.
like that
Mhm.
casual, almost casual quality to it that feels like choreographed, but at the same time, like we're just having fun.
Yeah, no, you can tell that this was played in a studio too. Like
Hmm.
this was not pre-recorded. They didn't lay down the drums and then the guitars and then layer on top. Like I just released a single called "We're Back," and it was a really fun song, but like, we layered it bit by bit. Did the drums, did the piano, did the guitar, did the saxophone, and layered everything until we added the vocals on top. This one you can't do that with jazz. So like if you want a jazz element, you guys have to all be playing in the same room at the same time. You can't
Hmm.
just play something and then add something on top. It's got to be, otherwise it won't be jazz, because that's part of the nature of it.
Hmm.
And so I feel like you can tell that they all were in the studio at the same time recording this.
Hmm.
There wasn't like I like if they did layer anything, it was on
Hmm.
top of the initial
Like the
session.
studio recording. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like the drummer was playing at the same time of the bassist and the keyboardist, and they were riffing off of each other, which is an
Yeah.
element that's it's hard to grasp in music. So, I do think it's a fantastic album. Is this ranking? I know we haven't done a lot of albums from this year. Like I was hoping we'd do enough to where we could kind of come up with our like top five of this year. Is this
Hmm.
anywhere close on your list for top five for you right now, or is it too early to tell?
It it feels too early to tell. There's been some albums that I've listened to aside from uh like our recordings here
Reviews, yeah.
that I think might creep up to that point. it all it all depends on how it sits with me. I think if it does, it's on the back of Cinnamon Temple. Just because like
Okay.
right now, even after Brat, which is currently probably like my favorite album that has
Hmm.
come out this year, like Cinnamon Temple feels like my favorite musical thing that has happened this year, album or song or otherwise. Like I love that. I love how I feel like I've never heard anything like it from a band like this.
Hmm.
And it makes me wish that there was just more of it. I want to hear more tracks like it from this group. I wish the second half of this album was just songs like Cinnamon Temple.
Yeah.
But
Okay. I think for me right now, because again, the three most prominent albums I listen to are Samurai, Timeless, and this one. And I think that's my
mhm,
top five right now, just that order. Um,
mhm,
so it'll probably stay there. So, we'll see. Like this is my third favorite album of the year. We'll see as more
mhm,
things come out, and everything, and for our next project, whatever album we choose to review. But
mhm.
overall, like very, very solid, very great project. If you haven't listened to it, please. And you can listen to it while doing anything. It could be workout music, it could be just chilling music, it could be, I mean, if you need some like really, really hype workout music, maybe it's not workout music. Like I can work out to it, but just kind of depends on like if you get hyped from jazz or not. Like I guess I should make that as a blanket statement because some
If
people
you're a
need like
jazz head,
hard.
this might be
Yeah.
really hype for you.
But yeah, no, you can listen to it while working, while, maybe jogging or walking or something like that. You can listen to it while doing anything. So please, if you get a chance, check it out, and we will see you guys next time.
Until then.